Hey there, it's therapy and relaxation. Today we're talking about Roman Empire's impact on communication. Let's go! When we reflect on the Roman Empire, what often comes to mind are images of grand amphitheaters, formidable legions marching across continents, and emperors wrapped in togas addressing the masses. Yet, beyond the spectacle of power and conquest, the true genius of Rome lay in its ability to communicate across cities, across cultures, and across centuries. The empire's unrivaled capacity for exchanging information, ideas, and culture enabled its expansion, unified its vast territories, and left an indelible legacy that continues to shape the modern world. In the first centuries BCE and CE, as Rome transformed from a regional power into a sprawling empire, the need to connect its far-flung territories became paramount. Out of this necessity arose one of humanity's greatest infrastructural triumphs, the Roman road network. These precisely engineered arteries, stretching over 250,000 miles at the empire's zenith, were more than just pathways for travel. They were channels for communication. Where once a message might have taken weeks or months to traverse rugged landscapes, Roman roads slashed transit times. Troops could be deployed in days to distant provinces. Traders transported goods with previously unimaginable speed. And above all, information could flow efficiently between the center and the periphery of the empire. This logistical marvel was complemented by the Roman postal service, known as the cursus publicus. Established under Augustus, the system was a state-run communication infrastructure with dispatch riders, relay stations, and carefully maintained routes. Messages, official decrees, and intelligence moved rapidly across vast distances, stitching together the threads of a diverse empire. Provincial governors, military commanders, and even distant allies could be reached with an efficiency that was revolutionary for its time. The efficacy of the cursus publicus was not merely a convenience, it was foundational to the governance, administration, and stability of Rome. Through swift communication, the empire could respond to threats, implement policies, and assert control over its territories. Yet the hardware of roads and relays would have meant little without a common language to tie the multitude of peoples living under the eagle's wings. Latin, at first the dialect of a small tribe in central Italy, became the glue of empire. Its standardization, imposed through governance, education, and military service, created a shared medium for administration, commerce, and culture. Latin was used for laws, literature, scientific treatises, and inscriptions on public monuments, forging a collective identity amid the diverse ethnicities that made up Rome's provinces. Over time, the roots sunk by Latin would sprout into the modern Romance languages: Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Romanian, and supply the linguistic DNA for much of modern Europe. It also bequeathed a legacy in scientific and legal terminology that persists to this day. During the long period of stability, known as the Pax Romana, these communication systems were instrumental in maintaining order and enabling prosperity. Underpinning Rome's political and social order was its system of law, an achievement in communication as much as in jurisprudence. Roman law, meticulously codified and promulgated across the empire, conveyed consistent rules and expectations to millions of people. From the earliest tablets of the 12 Tables to the detailed statutes of the Corpus Juris Civilis under Justinian, the law served as both a model for fairness and a practical means for resolving disputes across cultures. Its emphasis on civil rights, contract law, property, and procedures became the foundation for legal systems from continental Europe to the Americas, making Roman law a cornerstone of global governance. Roman achievements in engineering and architecture further testify to the power of communication and collaboration. The ability to plan, coordinate, and execute complex projects, whether aqueducts carrying lifeblood water into cities, vast amphitheaters designed for acoustic clarity, or the integration of urban planning with social amenities, depended on effective information exchange. The design manuals of Vitruvius, for instance, encapsulated Roman expertise and enabled its reproduction across provinces. The physical structures that dot the Mediterranean today are not just relics of stone and marble. They are monuments to the empire's capacity to share knowledge, align objectives, and orchestrate collective action. Beyond their borders, the Romans were voracious assimilators and disseminators. As the empire expanded through trade, conquest, and diplomatic alliances, it became a crucible of cultural exchange. Greek philosophy and science, Egyptian engineering techniques, Celtic metalwork, and Phoenician navigation all found new life when filtered through the Roman lens. Markets, forums, and ports thrived as spaces of encounter where new ideas, innovations, and traditions could intermingle. This cosmopolitanism fostered a remarkable cross-fertilization of thought and practice, the effects of which reverberated long after the empire's political power waned. In daily life, the impact of Roman communication was profound and enduring. The Latin language, preserved and propagated by the Catholic Church and medieval scholarship, became the medium for academia, law, and liturgy throughout the Middle Ages and into the modern era. Scientific taxonomy, legal maxims, and philosophical terms are still given in Latin, anchoring the vocabulary of knowledge to Roman precedent. The fundamental principles of governance, senates, representative assemblies, civic participation, all bear the imprint of Roman republican traditions. Concepts of citizenship, checks and balances, and public accountability took root in Rome, only to be revived in new forms by the architects of democratic societies centuries later. The Roman obsession with practical solutions laid the groundwork for the communication technologies of our age. Their roads inspired modern highway systems. Their postal service anticipated mail and, eventually, digital correspondence. The organization of information through laws, decrees, and inscription foreshadowed the documentation and dissemination practices that underpin everything from the printing press to the internet today. In this sense, each notification on a smartphone, each shipment routed across continents, echoes the principles set down in Roman times: standardization, reliability, and reach. But perhaps the most enduring lesson from Rome is how communication shapes civilizations. The empire's rise and resilience were not accidents of geography or mere feats of military strength. They were the product of an intentional commitment to systematic, effective communication. Its tools and structures allowed diverse peoples to unite under a common administration, share innovations, and respond to crises. Even as Roman power receded and new societies rose on its ruins, its communication legacy remained, enabling not just the transmission of orders and information, but of culture, identity, and aspiration. In the modern age, the tempo and scope of communication have increased at a pace the Romans could scarcely have imagined. The internet, social media, and real-time global news have collapsed the distances that even the fastest Roman couriers could not conquer. A message no longer takes days to cross a continent. It travels in milliseconds around the world. The challenge, however, remains fundamentally similar: how to convey information reliably, how to foster understanding among diverse people, and how to coordinate collective action across great distances and cultural divides. As we become ever more interconnected, the opportunities for communication are vast, but so too are the challenges. Misunderstandings, misinformation, and the sheer volume of data can overwhelm our capacity for clarity. The lesson from Rome is that infrastructure alone is not enough. The systems must be accompanied by a commitment to shared language, mutual respect, and common standards. The digital highways of our age, like the ancient Roman roads, are only as valuable as the connections and comprehension they facilitate. In solving the defining problems of our era, climate change, global health, international conflict, it is not the tools themselves, but our ability to communicate, coordinate, and envision shared goals that will determine success. As in Rome, the foundations of lasting achievement rest on more than physical structures. They depend on the flow of ideas, trust, and collaboration among peoples. The Roman Empire's experiment in communication did not end with its fall. Its echoes are present in the languages we speak, the laws we uphold, the roads we travel, and the ways we organize our societies. The power of communication to unite, to innovate, and to endure is a story as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. In a world growing smaller and yet more complex, the enduring lesson of Rome is that to connect is to thrive, and that the most profound legacies are those built on the strength of shared understanding. Thanks for sticking around. Don't forget to subscribe us and check out therapyandrelaxation.com for more. See you tomorrow.